All right, we are T-minus 4 days away from the NFL draft in our backyard in Detroit. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait for this draft. Now, needless to say, the fact that it's in Detroit is really, really cool. I was probably more excited for last year's draft just because of where we were positioned. But I really do believe that with pick 29, there are a few players out there that just have a ridiculous amount of talent, and one of them could absolutely fall to us. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of those because there are players all over the place, littered throughout the NFL, that are not top 15 picks that are absolutely stud superstar players. But in this video, we're going to talk about who some of those are, but also who some of the most difficult prospects to evaluate are, and what the Detroit Lions should do with each of these. And we're going to talk about these three players in this video. So if you're new to this channel, we love the Lions. We want to be your go-to source on YouTube. Okay, so if you have yet to subscribe, please do that. We would love to have you here, part of this community. We're going for 20,000 subs. And again, join us live for the draft on Thursday. We'll be here. Let's make it happen. All right. So without further ado, I was on Twitter. And by the way, if you haven't followed us on Twitter, and I'm going to call it Twitter, please do so. Sports Talk Detroit. Follow us. We started it not that long ago, but it can help. And Pride of Detroit, actually, give them credit, came out with which 2024 NFL draft prospect is the toughest evaluation. All right. They discuss one polarizing option. What we're going to do is discuss three, because I really do believe that there are three absolutely polarizing options. All right. So first, I will do two cornerbacks, and then we'll do an edge defender, because these are the guys that I see the highest upside, but also you just don't know. So we're going to talk about it, compare the corners side by side, and then bring in the edge rusher that I think has the ability to be the best edge rusher in this class. Not even close, but he could be there at 29. So we're going to talk about it and what makes him good and what makes him risky. All right, so the first person we're going to talk about at corner is a guy by the name of Cooper Dijon Mustard, whatever you want to call him. All right. And I start by talking about his RAS score, his relative athletic score. He's the 28th most athletic cornerback to ever test, which is just nuts to me. By the way, he would be the first starting outside cornerback since Jason Sehorn to be white, if he in fact does start, which I think is what makes this such a difficult grade. As I'm watching the film, as I'm watching Cooper DeJean on film, one of the things that I notice is that Iowa plays a lot of three back, so he's just usually playing 10 yards off the ball at the time of the snap, and he's sitting in his zone coverage. The Lions are a man coverage team. There's not a lot of film to watch on that. Now, his man coverage grade via PFF was a 63.7. Here's what we know he's good at. In fact, I would say elite at. He's elite in the run defense. At 6'1", 207 pounds, you would expect him to be that. The dude is yoked. All right. But that same size creates some struggles, which I'll tell you about in a second. Here's the other thing we know he's elite at: ball skills. All right, he has fantastic ball skills. He knows how to make a play on the ball, and he has good closing speed. He also is a ridiculous return man. Now, if he's your starting corner, he's not also going to be your return man. That's just not how you're going to do it. If he ends up not being that good, then fine. So here's why it's a good fit, and here's why it's not a good fit for the Detroit Lions. It's not a good fit because we don't know what he is in man coverage. And if he can't be good in man coverage, he doesn't work in this defense. I will say when watching film, his hips seem to be a little stiff. He's not as fluid as I would like, and that is something that's very important in the NFL when you have athletes that are just phenomenal, quick twitch, change of direction athletes. I do struggle with that. However, his good might outweigh the bad in being great for this team. He's fast. He runs a 4.440. He's tall at 6'1". I think you could line this guy up man-to-man with the Mike Evans of the world, the bigger receivers, the Puka Nakuas. He's not that huge, but I just think about the way in which he moves. These big outside X receivers, he could do it all day. I think he would be great to line up against them. I think he's big enough with his size that if he ends up on a tight end, it's no problem. So those are the kind of things that I look at with Cooper DeJean. I do struggle with is he going to be a good man defender? But he fits because he already basically played corner safety because the way Iowa plays defense. So he could be multiple. He could be a guy you could put in the nickel. He could be a corner that you could bring in the box to be almost like a third linebacker. He could play in the back end. Chris did a video yesterday about the bad news about Kirby Joseph. If Kirby Joseph isn't ready, Cooper could take some of those things. So anyways, I've talked too much on Cooper because I said I wanted to talk about other players. But he's one that is absolutely, he's one that is there. Now, so he ranked 28th. He got a 9.89. We had another guy who is the 129th most athletic cornerback ever to test, and that was Nate Wiggins. And he did it more with just his ridiculous speed. He just has ridiculous speed. He has similar size. But when I say similar size, all I mean is height. And that is the crux with Nate Wiggins. He has all the makings to be a phenomenal cover corner in this league. When you look at him on tape, you can see the speed. The closing speed's insane. By the way, they're the exact same age, but the closing speed's insane. The man coverage grade is fantastic. It's one of the best, 78.5 in all of college football. All right. His QB passer rating allowed this year was 44.4. All right. In case you're wondering, Cooper DeJean's was 37.8. All right. If you want to compare these guys. All right. All the intangibles as far as coverage, he's got them. I don't think he has super fluid hips either, by the way. But if you put him again on those taller wide receivers, he will mess with them all day. I think he has a better ability to match up with more of the gadget wide receiver as well, the quick twitch wide receivers, whether you talk about Stephon Diggs, whether you talk about Tyreek Hills of the world and things like that. I think he can, Justin Jefferson, I think those are the kind of guys that he absolutely can guard and match up well against. Just because of the closing speed that he has with that blistering 40 time of 4.29. That's insane. All right. The problem with Wiggins, he can't tackle. He has not shown a willingness to be a good run defender. He grades out fine, but below average. He doesn't grade out that fine. He's well below average. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, okay, he can play man-to-man. His man coverage grade was phenomenal. Can he tackle? And that's where you have these two guys that are completely different. When you have Nate Wiggins, so I have a question for all of you. You have Nate Wiggins and Cooper. All right, Nate and Cooper. One, you're going to put out there and you're going to be confident that he is going to be a good cover corner, right? You're just not confident that he can do anything else. That's Nate Wiggins. Now, that's a very important job, so I'm not acting like it's not. A shutdown corner is massive. With the other guy, Cooper, you know that he can do everything. The only thing you're wondering if he can do is be a solid one-on-one cover corner. So he's definitely more multiple, but Nate might have the greatest of them all. But it's so hard to know what to do with these guys. All right, so I'm going to move out of the defensive backfield, and I'm going to move into the edge rushing. Brad Holmes talked, and it seemed like he was very settled. It seemed like he was very good with how should I put this? He was very settled and very good with what our defensive line looked like, especially on the edge opposite Hutch. For some reason, he's very confident in that. Yes, we do have James Houston that will be back. We've brought in some other pieces. We got to see what Josh Paschal is going to become, things like that. But there is one player that is, as we all expected to be, a freak athlete, and that is Chop Robinson out of defensive end Penn State. So all the measurables are there except for his size, but we've seen guys at 254, Will Anderson this year, absolutely play the run well. And by the way, everybody talks about how Chop Robinson is a one-trick pony. He's a pass rusher. I disagree. I've watched the tape. He is absolutely good in the run as well. And I think sometimes people play size too big, and they're just like, oh, no, you need to have a guy with big size. So you need to have Hutch out there who weighs almost 270, And it's like, so he weighs 12 pounds more, 14 pounds more, even 20 pounds more, right? But if you have the speed and the agility, which by the way he does, right, then coming down the line and things like that, you're still going to be a phenomenal run defender. So that's not true. In fact, I disagree almost entirely with that. His run defensive grade was top 3/4 in all of college football, which is good. And if you're asking him to do it, it'll be fine. But also, Hutch is the really good run defender as well on this team on the edge. So you're bringing speed off the other side. It actually works well because you have Hutch set the edge, and then you have speed coming down the line in Chop Robinson. You can't leave him unblocked. He's too fast. He will catch up to the running back. All right, if the running back encounters any traffic along the offensive line. So the dude can move. The dude is solid. The question I have is, what is the disconnect here between his remarkable speed, his remarkable bend, his good strength, his phenomenal pass rush grade, his remarkable athletic ability, and his lack of sacks? What is the deal there? All right. And I think it's similar to kind of what you saw with Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons was phenomenal in college, but his sack production was ridiculous in the pros. It's become ridiculous. And I think part of it is simply the type of defense that is run at Penn State. I don't think they run a defense that's designed to have like, all right, pin your ears back and go. Like we've seen them do it. Also, sack numbers aren't always in college what tells you the whole story. They're just not. He might be double teamed like crazy. He might not have anybody on the other side of him. It's not easy to get 10 sacks in college. It's very, very hard. And in 12 games last year, he got 9. All right, in two years ago, in 2022. Last year, he actually had a better pass rush grade in 2023, but he only got 5 sacks in 10 games in 148 pass rush attempts. So when you look at 148 pass rush attempts and you look at 5 sacks in 10 games, if he can continue to connect that same talent, because sacks, I will say, are easier to get in the NFL. I know that sounds weird, just the way the our offenses are built. But I think to an extent they can be. And so if you give him that same sack rate, which is 1 sack every 2 games played, would you be happy with him having 8.5 sacks his rookie year? Because I would, right? Or you go the year before where he had 9 sacks in 12 games. Would you be happy with 12, 13 sacks? I would, all right? Hutch was a prolific sack guy, and they put him in a different role. Chop Robinson's job would be to go there and get after the quarterback. So the more I watch him, the more I think about it, the more I believe that he actually could be a very good prospect on the edge. I really do. Whether he fits what we want to do or not, I don't know. That's a question for the coaching staff. It doesn't seem to be it because James Houston, they don't seem to love it all, but I think Chop can play the run better. I think he can play it better. I think he's got more of a body for it than Houston does to leverage his strength and weight in order to do it. All right, ended up being a longer video than we usually do here. Wanted to show you those 3 guys. Hope you joined us for the draft so you can get even more content and good stuff like this as we continue on. Thanks so much for watching. See you on the next one. Hopefully, see you Thursday night.